So Barry, take a good shot of my shirt. Just to make my day. It's my better side than most people say anyway. Okay, we're here at the PlasterCenter, Minneapolis, Minnesota, doing step 2, which is going to be our first coat of moire. We're going to be using a traditional trapezoid trowel. Flexes nice to the wall. Our base coat of shark tooth is dried. We have a little bit of an inconsistent pattern. We can see through it. That's just totally fine. But what I want to bring your attention to, we have a nice organic pattern, and we can fill the sand. It's going to soften the final look of the finish. I'm going to load up my trowel now. I like to use a traditional kitchen spatula. It works great for plastering. And we're going to load just a small amount of material on the outside edge. And I'm going to treat my wall like I'm reading a book. I'm going to start in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to work my ceiling line down and over, and the wall-to-wall section from the corner out to the right application. I'm going to pull just a nice, smooth, even application. You want to be able to see through the product. You should be able to see the base coat peeking through. A few voids is perfectly normal. We're going to be doing another complete application on top of this. So we started in the corner again, and I'm going to work to my right, and I like to use a technique that's pretty common in our industry called north, east, west, and south. I'm going to move the trowel down in the south position, doing a little bit of a squiggle. I'm going to move it to the east, and material. I'm going to add a little bit of material, getting just a slight bit of material to hydrate the edge of the product. We're going to come back and we're going to load the material into the area that has not been applied. We'll just softly join the areas together. Do not need to maintain a wet edge during this process. I do want to encourage you again to start in the upper left and work to the right, and just keep extending off your pattern. The application of the material should always be thinner than a sheet of paper. It's going to give you a dry time of about 10 to 20 minutes. Okay, keep progressing. Then we're changing the direction. Going a little bit over in the west. I'm going to come back in here. We're moving this in the east direction. The combination of all these random applications is going to give you a totally random reflection back into the room. We have light coming at all angles. It's going to distort and soften the pattern to make it look like a nice white finish when we're done. Okay, we've completed what would be our second step or first coat of moire in this process. And you can see that the wall's pretty much completely covered. We have a few random little skip spots, totally acceptable. But what I want you to admire is that you can see through the finish, and we can see actually the shark tooth peeking through the base coat. We want that to peek through. It's a nice, even, thin coat across the wall surface. This will dry in about 20 minutes, and we'll be ready for our second coat. Okay, we're back at the PlasterCenter in Minneapolis, and we're getting ready to do our final coat of moire using a traditional trapezoid Italian trowel. I'm going to load my blade. Remember, small amount of material is your best friend. And we're going to treat the wall surface like it's a butt. We're going to start up in the upper corner again. Pull in the wall surface from the edge. Arm distance works great. We're going to come back up at the ceiling line. Whenever you alter the pattern when you trowel, again we're going to move material a little bit to the south, a little bit to the west. Distort the reflection coming off the wall surface. We work the perimeter. We're going to come back in with the material on the blade and insert that right into the dry zone and start troweling randomly. We put material on always thinner than a traditional paint coat. We want to utilize our under bases to add to the final look of the finish. And see, we see a little bit of the base coat coming through. Really adds to the dimension, final look of the finish. And pull it all together. We do not need to maintain a wet edge. We'll come back, reload. We finished our moire application. The review is we did a base coat with shark tooth primer, and then we did 2 trowel load coats using a traditional Italian trowel. And we have a nice, beautiful, smooth, silky smooth finish. We can see a little bit of the base coat showing through, and we can increase or decrease that appearance by changing the base coat color just a little bit. But overall, we have a nice, random lights coming in from multiple directions, reflecting off the moire. Very simple finish to do. Good morning. We're at Minneapolis Institute of Fine Finishes at the PlasterCenter, and we are going to demonstrate a flat blade technique for applying moire. The color system we're using today is Midwest Reflections. The color is tarnished silver, and this is an extremely simple technique. First rule is to not over apply material. So you want you to apply a very small amount of material to the edge of the blade. The edges of the blade are rounded off to make it simple for the application. We have applied our first step, which was shark tooth sanded primer to a similar color. And with the straight edge in hand, I want you to come up to the upper left-hand side of the wall, treat it again as a book, and we're going to do random crosshatch thin applications of moire. You can see the material is thinner than a sheet of paper, and we are going to overlap a little bit and pull the material 6 to 8 inch passes, cross-hatching and correcting for any overage. Cross-hatch through the system, come back, pull up any extra material, and continue. Again, one of the beautiful features of moire is we do not need to maintain a wet edge through this process. We're going to come back, work off the edge, continue to cross-hatch throughout the process. You can again see that we're pulling through the base coat that we randomly rolled on that's giving us a nice organic peek through on what would be step 1 of moire. Thank you. We're on the tail end, and you can see even with the simple rounded edge budding blade, you get a stunning finish. You can see right through that. It's nice and thin. It was easy to apply. I can stop anywhere I want, go have lunch, come back, and continue. Center in Minneapolis, and we're doing our final coat, step 3 of moire. Color is tarnished silver from the Midwest Reflections color collection. I am going to go ahead and load my flat blade with a very small amount of material. And again, looking at the wall surface as if it's a book, I'm going to go in the upper left-hand corner, and we're going to start our second coat, cross-hatching, the final coat of moire. We'll pull it nice and thin, eliminate any overage edges, just keep altering the path, cross-hatch and extend off your work area. And the key here is random. We're going to pull a little bit going to the south, pull back to the west a little bit, keep cross-hatching and extending, adding small amounts of material. A little bit of material is going to go a long way. Don't worry about this edge drying out. And we don't need to maintain a wet edge. Put it back in. Randomly cross-hatching. Average pull about 8 to 10 inch random cross-hatch pattern on the wall surface. And you can see as I'm progressing, that organic base that we put on should continue to show through the finish. Okay, this is the final wall finish. We've done 2 complete coats of moire across the shark tooth base coat, and you can see I intentionally lightened the base coat just a little bit so when it peeks through, we get this nice organic two-tone kind of effect. If we want it to be a little bit more consistent, we deepen up the base coat just a little bit, and it'll just be a little softer effect.